Hi guys, what's up? I'm Georgia McGilly from Georgia-Beth Photography, if you didn't know me already, and I am here to just provide you with all wedding inspiration and tips today and for every Thursday. So hit subscribe if you would like to carry on listening and hearing more and more wedding inspirational tips, and let's dive straight into it. This video is all about how to pick your wedding venue, what questions to ask, all that sort of thing. I have a whole load of notes, so if I'm looking down, I'm just having a little peek at my notes to make sure that I'm making this video super useful and kind of to the point for you guys. So first things to decide where you're going to have your wedding. Decide what town, what kind of venue. That can be kind of vague or specific. It can be a sort of feel, you want an elegant venue, or it can be very specific. You want a barn wedding, you want a marquee wedding, something like that. So make those decisions first. Then you want to think of capacity. If you're wanting a really, really big wedding, that is going to majorly limit what sort of venues you can have. Say you want 300 people, there's only going to be certain venues that can house that sort of people. Whereas if you want a more intimate wedding and you only want about 40 guests, or with the conditions that we have in the UK at the minute, you can only have 15 guests. If you're wanting it, you'll be planning right now a really intimate wedding, then obviously that cuts out masses of venues. So think about that when you're deciding what type of venue you want. In general, for your budget, which is something that you need to decide first, what kind of amount of money you're willing to spend on your venue. In general, your venue will be about 15% of your budget. And if they're doing kind of catering and bar and stuff, the venue catering and bar will be about 40% of your budget. So it's a really big chunk of your budget. So you need to take all that into consideration. Make sure you've put aside enough money that you're going to be able to consider the options that you really want. Okay, then the last thing that you need to decide before going and hunting is picking a season. Now, I recommend that you do just pick a season that you want to get married in rather than a specific date, because if you then fall in love with a venue and they fit all your requirements but they're not available for the 1 or 2 dates that you have set aside, then you'll be really disappointed. So pick a season that you want to get married in. If you want to get married in autumn, then you've kind of got your 3-month, September, October, November sort of time frame that you could be available for your wedding day. Okay, then what you want to do is go ahead and research venues within those kind of sections. So you say, for example, you decided that you want a barn wedding, you want it pretty intimate, there's going to be maybe 50 guests, and you want it in autumn. So you've already got those 3. So you're not going to be looking at hotels, you're not going to be looking at marquees, you're specifically looking at barns, and then you're looking at availability in the autumn. So these are the questions that you want to ask yourself before you visit the venues. So either you have to send them in an email, or you might be able to find that information on their website. So this is just going to help you straight away get rid of any venues that don't fit your requirements before you actually bother to go and visit, because you don't want to go and visit a whole load and then they don't even fit your requirements anyway. So here we go, straight into the questions. So 1, the rental rate. How much does it cost to rent the building? 2, do they have lower rates for weekdays or off season? A lot of venues have this. Like if you wanted your wedding in November, it might be a lot cheaper than if you'd had it done in July or August. Then you want to ask them, have they got any availability for autumn next year? And then the last thing that you want to ask them so this is before you even visited anywhere, is whether they've got any a phone number or an email that you can contact that specific person directly. Okay, so now moving on. Hopefully you found maybe 2 or 3 venues that you really like, have got availability during the time slot that you would prefer, and are going to fit your requirements sort of for payment and capacity and that sort of thing. So now we've got some questions that you want to ask while you're going on a tour. So if you're going and visiting a venue, these are the things that you want to make sure that you ask while you're on the tour. And I would highly recommend that you record the answers on your phone and then save it as the name of that venue, because quite often they can kind of all merge into one and you can't remember the details about each individual one, and every single venue is so different. So questions to ask: do they have separate rooms for your ceremony reception? So if you're planning on having ceremony reception at the same venue, do they have separate rooms? Is there somewhere separate to have like a drinks, reception drinks area, cocktail hour? Do they have extras? Do they have decorations that you can hire on top? Do they have candles? Do they have a dance floor? Do they, ask those sort of questions. Can we hire the extras? Then ask what their capacity is, seated and unseated, because quite often you could have a sit down meal and then invite more people in the evening, even if that was over the number for the seated amount of people that they can have. Then you want to ask, what are the drinks costs or the bar charge? Do you have your own bar, or do we need to hire an external bar? You then want to ask, are we allowed to bring our own champagne? Because you might want to bring your own champagne for your toast, your own specific drinks for your toast, so check that you're allowed to do that, or whether they provide that. Make sure that you know what equipment is included in the rent hire. Are tables and chairs included? Do we need to hire them from somewhere else? Things like, are you allowed candles? Are you allowed confetti? Quite a lot of venues have restrictions for these things, so just make sure if you're thinking about having those things in your weddings that you've asked those questions. Then you want to ask, what times is the venue available for us? So say you were having your wedding at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, would it be open the Friday evening for you to come in and decorate? Would it be open the Sunday morning for you to kind of take down any of your own decorations and take them home? Just ask what times it's going to be available for you so that you can prepare your bridal party, or your parents, or whoever's helping out, or vendors who are going to be setting up for you. Then you want to ask, is there any decorations that are already up? And if they're not to your theme, you want to check that you're allowed to move them or take them down. You want to also ask, is there a smoking area? You might have guests who smoke, so make sure that there's somewhere that they're allowed to go outside to go and have a smoke. Are there any noise restrictions or time restrictions? So certain areas of the country might have a noise restriction because it's in a highly populated area and you can't be too loud, or it might have time restrictions. You might not be able to go past 11, so that's going to affect what times you want your disco or your band to come in, what times you're allowed to close and leave, and all that sort of thing. Then you want to check about heating and aircon, make sure that you don't need to buy any extras of those. Ask about caterers. Do they have in-house caterers? Do they have a kitchen? If you wanted to have some out-of-house caterers come in. Do they have a weather contingency plan if it is raining? So if you were planning on having an outdoor ceremony, is there somewhere else that they will bring you if it is raining on the actual day? Do they have parking? Is it free? Do the guests need to come and get a permit or have their kind of ticket stamped or anything like that? And then finally, just ask them about any preferred vendors or caterers or anything like that. So if there's any vendors that they recommend that they usually have within their day that maybe they can show some examples of photos or examples of food or anything like that, then go ahead and ask that, because usually they are pretty good quality if they're recommended by the venue. So there you go, that was like a super speedy go through all the questions that you need to ask, and I'm sure there are plenty more that you can come up with, but hopefully those will provide the essential information that you need. Make sure that you've recorded it so that when you come home from all the tours, you can kind of listen back and write down the pros and cons and decide that way. And that is just going to make the process so much more streamlined for you guys, and hopefully by the end of it, you would have found somewhere that you're really excited to get married in. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure you don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any more of this. And I will see you guys really soon. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to grab the free checklist and guide, wedding planning guide, that down below, and I'll see you soon. I'm always cheering you on.